Now, former special counsel Robert Mueller testifying before the House Judiciary Committee.
I want to show you some of those live pictures from Washington, D.C. here. You know, for almost 3 hours, lawmakers have been grilling Mueller about the findings of his investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. Democrats right now focusing on allegations of obstruction of justice on the part of the president, while Republicans on the judiciary are working to find holes in the report. We've got both sides here. Brandy Cruz is also here this morning with a legal analysis of Mueller's testimony so far. Brandy, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. John McKay, former United States attorney. I literally can't think of a better person to come in and do a legal analysis for us this morning. Not only do you know Robert Mueller, you used to work with him, you've also testified in front of this very committee.
I have.
So my first question is, how's he doing? How's he holding up under questioning?
You know, he seems a little bit nervous to me, and he's struggling because he doesn't want to be there. I think he sees his report as sort of a lateraling of the football to the Congress itself for possible impeachment hearings. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He wants his report to speak for itself, and that's coming across pretty clearly.
Yeah, he said that. He said, I don't want to go, but there he is anyway. Law and order guy. We didn't expect him really to say no. I want to play for you just a couple moments from the hearing so far for folks who've been dipping in and out maybe that I think are significant, and I want your analysis of them. So one of them came from the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, a Democrat, Jerry Nadler. You know, he pointed out the president keeps repeating this claim. No obstruction, no collusion, I've been fully exonerated. So Jerry Nadler had Mueller respond to the president's words. Watch.
So the report did not conclude that he did not commit obstruction of justice. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what about total exoneration? Did you actually totally exonerate the president?
No.
Now, in fact, your report expressly states that it does not exonerate the president.
It does.
And your investigation actually found, quote, multiple acts by the president that were capable of exerting undue influence over law enforcement investigations, including the Russian interference and obstruction investigations. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, if you read the 448-page report, you knew that. He's basically restating it. Does it help for Americans to hear it in this context at a hearing of this nature from Robert Mueller himself?
Yes, I think it does. I mean, this is really a public proceeding now. The House Judiciary Committee, many of those members, as you can tell by some of their speeches that aren't questions, they're talking to the public. And maybe this helps hone the public's attention on the principal findings of the report. You see the Democrats focusing on Mueller's statements, both in the report and here this morning, that he did not exonerate the president with regard to obstruction of justice. And the Republicans, of course, are doing what a lot of people do in criminal cases, which is to attack the investigators and attack the prosecutors.
Yeah, we've seen some fiery moments. I might get to that more in a little bit. There was this other moment, and in fact, you texted me, said, you know, did you see this moment? Because I had asked you, to message me if you saw anything you wanted to discuss on air this morning. And this is fascinating because he came from a Republican, Ken Buck of Colorado. So he was attacking Mueller in the investigation when he asked him a question that I don't think the Republican expected this answer to. Again, Ken Buck of Colorado. Watch.
Could you charge the president with a crime after he left office?
Yes.
Could you charge the president with a crime after he left office? Then he goes on to ask him again, are you sure you could charge the president with obstruction after he left office? And Mueller reiterated, yes. Yes. That was a big moment.
Yeah, it was a big moment, I think, and you know, it remains to be seen what commentators and the public think about that. But I agree with you. I don't think that Congressman Buck expected that answer. But it is part of this proceeding, and I think it's part of what underlies the Mueller report, and that is that, in fact, the president is above some of the criminal laws while he serves as president of the United States. And the Constitution allows, I believe, only one proceeding against a sitting president, and that is impeachment. And so what Mueller is saying, he said it in his report, he's trying to say it here, he's trying to explain it to the Republicans on the panel, he can't reach a conclusion as to obstruction while this man serves as president of the United States. But he did conclude, and he didn't say that in his report, so that's why I think it's news. He said these facts would amount to an obstruction charge once President Trump leaves office. That's pretty amazing because obstruction of justice is a felony, and it's up to Congress to decide whether it is a high crime and misdemeanor that would justify impeachment proceedings.
What do you think will happen here? You know, we hear so much about this report. We've had hearings, we've had indictments, we've had guilty pleas. I think people went into today thinking, well, it's not really going to change anything. Does anything that you've heard so far from the Judiciary Committee and Robert Mueller, do you think it changes anything moving forward?
I mean, I think this is perhaps the conclusion of the Mueller report itself. I don't expect we're going to hear from Robert Mueller going forward. I think he's going to sort of disappear on purpose. And so I think the report is now, as I said, lateraled to Congress. It's going to be up to them to decide. They're speaking to our fractured political landscape. There are many people who, of course, support the President of the United States. They want him in office. They elected him to office. And for them, this report may not change their view. But for others who perhaps are on the fence as we come up on another election, maybe this report will have an impact. I don't know.
It's hard to imagine anyone still being on the fence one way or another about the Mueller report. It feels like we're so partisan that going into this, if you were going to make up your mind, you'd already have done it by now.
You know, I think that's true, although the Constitution does impose an obligation on the Congress of the United States to consider impeachment where it believes high crimes and misdemeanors have occurred. They define what high crimes and misdemeanors are. Traditionally, in the few cases we have in the history of the United States, obstruction of justice would certainly be one of those.
A lot of political grandstanding, but within it, some definitely big takeaway moments, John, that we appreciate your analysis of. So even after the Judiciary Committee wraps up, which they haven't yet, we are then moving on, half-hour break, to the Intelligence Committee. Will you stick around and give us some analysis on that once it begins?
I will. I think it's very important because the Intelligence Committee is more likely to focus on the absolutely clear case that the Russian government, Russian officials attempted to influence and probably did influence the 2016 election.
Yeah, something we should all be able to agree.
We should all agree on that.
One point of common ground. John McKay, former United States attorney, stick around. We'll talk to you about an hour from now.
Will do.
All right, we're going to get